So I like very much the books by Andrew Martin on the opening because he begins giving you inspiration and then he teaches you everything about that opening. But in this case, I want to show you a game because in another video I just show a game played by Fischer in 1960 in which he won very easily with black with this move knight e8, and then white had that kind of attack leaving the king in the center and got punished. Here I want to show you a game because strangely just after that video I open this book. I'm just watching the games and there is a game Bronstein against someone that I never know, and there is that move. And so I said, oh my God, this is Kaisa that is giving me a lesson. So please let me show you that game because it's interesting. So David Bronstein is white and Ritov was black. This is game 107 of the book Four Steps in the King's Indian Defense. It was played in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, right, in 1973. White plays c4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, d4, bishop g7, e4, castle, and we just saw that against Fischer at the Olympiad it was played e5, right? Here it's given an interesting move, while in the other book was just written that it was dubious. And here he says, I suppose white could argue that he's gaining space. Perhaps this is how grandmasters Bronstein and Gulko saw the position. Now you must understand, Andrew Martin is an international master, but probably is also grandmaster strength. But obviously Bronstein, Bronstein especially, is a candidate at the World Championship. He drew the World Championship 12-12 with Botvinnik, so clearly he was at top of chess. Now, black plays knight e8 like Fischer did. The difference is in that game it was played f4, if I remember well. Here, bishop f4. This is kind of interesting. d6, and then there is another move that is kind of interesting, which is h3. So this is 1973. It was played 13 years later compared to the game that we saw of Fischer, right? Here it says, not allowing black any easy exchanges with bishop g4. I reckon this is the way to make e5 playable. So maybe this is the way, maybe. So, and this is interesting because here black plays knight d7, while I think Fischer also played c5. And I believe now we should watch this comment because it's kind of interesting. It's the interpretation of the opening, right? D takes c5, queen a5. Here it says, is the sharpest way to tackle the position, as in Boris Gulko against B. McCarthy in Columbus 1987. With black coming out of the traps very fast indeed. White has to shock here. Boris Gulko is not intimidated. How does it continue? Here, by the way, I think he show all the game. So we find ourselves to see another game, okay? So let's try to go fast so we can return to the game by Bronstein. E takes d6. Bishop takes c3, check. Maybe he shouldn't give up the bishop just yet. And here he gives a line. B takes c3, queen takes c3, check. Bishop d2, oops, oh my god, it's a sign. And here we have queen e5, bishop e2, e takes d6, c takes d6, and queen takes d6. Knight f3, knight c6, and now there is castle. As you can see, they don't leave the king in the center. In this case, it's Gulko, not Bronstein anymore, right? Here it says, white has made it out of the opening with a small edge. He has a nice dark square bishop that cannot be contested, even if his pawn structure isn't ideal. So we are at move 15. How does this continue? With knight g7, bishop c3, queen takes d1, and rook f takes d1, rook e8, bishop f1, bishop e6, knight g5, rook a d8, and look, white doesn't take the bishop on e6 to have the bishop pair. White plays knight e4. Why? The dark square weaknesses have turned out to be the most important feature of the position. Right? So knight h5, trying to block this, but then there is g4 and f5. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, knight c5, attacking this and this, knight f4, protecting that, knight takes d7, rook f8, g5, bishop f7, knight d6, rook d8, rook d1, knight e6, bishop f6. As you can see, now he is exploiting the dark square because he can control them, the other can't. Rook d7 and bishop g2. Here it says white is now winning comfortably. Knight a5, rook d5, knight f4, knight takes f7. Wow, beautiful move. Watch now. Knight takes d5, but watch. Knight h6 check. Rook f8, bishop takes d5. Boom. And this is the power of a bishop pair. It's kind of shock. It's a shock and awe. It's crazy what we can do. Rook c7, bishop e5, rook c8, c5. And obviously if you take, there is bishop d6 check, okay? Knight c6, bishop d6, king g7, knight f7 is trying to bring the knight back rightly, knight b4 attacking the defender of the knight f7, bishop c4, knight c2, knight e5, knight d4, king g2, f4, knight d7, f3 check, king h2, knight c6, bishop d5, h6, bishop takes c6, rook takes c6, and bishop e5 check. After king here, there is knight f8 and king g8, and here white won. We don't know what happened. I think maybe it could be also time, or maybe he resigned, black resigned, but then why did he play king g8? Here he says, I'm guessing that McCarthy went back to the sheds and was rather puzzled by what had happened. How could an opening line that was supposed to be at least okay for black turn out so badly? And this is a good question, right? Because also the Bronstein game is won by white. So let's return to Bronstein after we saw this huge and long game. Well, today you have paid for one and got 2 games at the same time. I honestly love to move these pieces because they are so heavy that you cannot imagine. It's like weight training. And the base is so big. Yeah, definitely exciting. Okay, let's return, sorry guys, let's return to David Bronstein against Ritov in Tallinn 1973. c4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, d4, bishop g7, e4, castle. And here there is this move that we saw in Fischer, e5, knight e8, the move played by Fischer, bishop f4, new one, d6, and h3, definitely the idea, right? Knight d7 was the move played in this game. Instead, in that game, they played c5 like Fischer, challenging the center. Okay, knight d7. After knight d7, there is knight f3 and c5. Okay, so they are always challenging. And here he says, without this thrust, black's position would become passive. So we must always challenge the enemy center. D takes e5, D takes e5. But it was also reasonable to play knight takes e5. Okay. Bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, and knight takes e5. And of course, you cannot take, otherwise you lose the queen, right? So he plays queen c7, after which knight takes d7, bishop takes d7, queen d4, and bishop c6. Knight d5, blocking the diagonal. Here it says, white has found a way to make life difficult for his opponent, who is a pawn down, and facing the great Bronstein. I'm sure that black is okay here, but he will have to play accurately, as he has no attack. Ritov does not manage the task well. Here he plays bishop takes d5. Maybe rook d8 was better because it was bringing to a kind of unclear play. But in any case, he played bishop takes d5, c takes d5, knight g7, bishop e2, rook f d8, and rook c1. Here it seems that there is a threat on castling right away, so that's the reason why Bronstein is waiting. However, if you want to know why, there is a very long line, like 8 moves long, and you can access it once you purchase the book. Okay, after rook c1, knight f5. By the way, I don't even know if these books are still in print, because I think Everyman has been out of business and now has been taken by New in Chess, or by the group of New in Chess. So I don't know if they will reprint this title in particular. In any case, here after rook c1, knight f5, he says, he continue with queen e4, and now there is a mistake by black, that should have played knight d6. You say, oh, knight d6, I can take. No, because if you take, you lose the rook. But he didn't play knight d6, instead he played e6, which obviously is not the best move. Why? Because after white takes, if you take back, he takes, right? And so you have lost the pawn. So what should he do? I don't really have an idea, because it's kind of difficult in some cases, right? Okay, so after d takes e6, rook d4, but then there is e takes f7 and king f8. Here they suggest queen takes f7. Okay, in any case, rook f8, sorry, king f8, queen e6. Notice that, I don't know, it will be interesting to see how Bronstein solve this. I don't understand. He played rook d2. It doesn't make any sense. Why did he do that? King takes d2, rook d8, check. And of course, king e1, queen f4, attacking that, yes. Rook d1, knight d4, and here there is g3, which ends up the game. Kind of interesting how it ended. No. So after g3, if it takes here, I don't know. Let's say takes, or if he doesn't take, it's a problem, right? So let's say that he takes and takes back, and that's the reason. If he doesn't take, you say, wait a minute, I don't want to take. Okay, what do you do? Because once you go here, this guy can kind of, I would take in any case. And then what do you do? You take here, great. But then he can play something like this, and he has an entire rook for himself. Yeah, okay, so we understood why White won the game. I hope you enjoyed this game, because as you can see, chess is kind of amazing, because we see one game by a champion. It seems so easy to win with black, and then here black got roasted or toasted or whatever you can think of. I wish you a good night. Thank you very much for watching my videos.